Hands, 3 hands. We'll take. Wow. Okay, I have not left enough time for such a vulnerable audience members. But let's. We'll go search. Do we have handheld mics? No. I guess we can sort of project. You first. Yes, please. I'm going to take a number of comments or questions, and then we're going to come for a final round of panel. So please wait to respond.
Thank you very much, everybody. I learned so much. I don't know the last time when I've written down so many things in my notebook. Thank you so much for that. I want to get to the point that you said with the behavior on the top half of our planet. I think we have a very snobbish attitude when it comes to our consumption patterns. For example, for fish, right? And I do not eat fish. I'm vegetarian. And when I talk to people about, oh, Anja, stop patronizing me, it's my personal freedom to eat fish, and even if it's a cheap one, right? So how can we convert those customers who are just consuming, to become sustainable consumers, because we need that. The market won't switch from one day to the other. We need this transition phase. What can we do? What are your recommendations?
Great, thank you very much. Let's wait, please. I'm just going to take a number. We'll never get through them if we don't do this. Okay, gentlemen here, and then we'll move our way back. Let's take 3 comments.
Chris, the Ascension Island example was fantastic. Is there coexistence now in terms of the seafood and fish coming back? Are there thoughts now to say, okay, can we do this sustainably? So just curious about that, or is that not in the thinking?
Okay, great. We'll take 2 more. The gentleman in the blue shirt there, and the young man there. And
thank you. Frank Jesus, European Investment Bank. I had a question going back to the urgency and the resilience, given that we know coral reefs are more resilient if they are less polluted. Fish stocks are more resilient if they are systemically managed. Seaweed produce more if there's no plastic in the water. So my question to Mars and Derek and Marianne is, given the urgency, what would you need to be able in 10 years from now to stop using any plastic? I'm being a bit provocative, but in a nice way. What would you need to do to get rid of the plastic you use, to be zero emission, to be fully 100% resilient in your sourcing of fish, and to be 100% sustainable in the soybean you use, being deforestation free? Okay. What would you need to be able to get there in 10 years?
Okay, great. Thank you very much. 2 more. So the young man right here, and then the gentleman in the back as well. Thank you. Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you so much for the amazing panel. I'm here representing Bermuda today through the Green Overseas Programme, funded by the EU. My question is primarily for Derry, as our sustainable fisheries are a big issue for us. You mentioned that a big issue facing the investments is the fact that they're fragmented and there's difficulty in getting the uniform regulations across them. In order to get fishers to sign up, they inevitably have to sacrifice some of their independence and really hand over their livelihoods to you. For somewhere that's a small island developing state, convincing native and local fishers to do that is going to be quite difficult. So how are you going to go about that?
Thank you. Final point, and please be brief, sir, if you can. So I'm really pushing you.
Thank you very much. I'll go straight to the point. I was engaged by Sarah at the beginning when we say about building marine resilience, because you go to the metrics and you say one metric, which is science, which is going to say to you the metric. But we didn't get into the second point. And my point is about this cross-sector collaboration, and it's a question for Derek. You were starting to talk a lot about the supply chain, but the value chain is immense. It's not just the supply chain. And when you extend the boundaries of intervention, then you have this cross-sector collaboration, not between industries, but in your value chain. But you didn't tell us, and it's very easy about climate, so try to get a little bit much innovative. It's easy about climate, but what are the metrics that you will see for your value chain? So to engage transport, to engage energy, to engage supply chain, to engage fisheries. So what are kind of metrics that you will have?
Thank you very much. All right. So you all have a pick of those questions that you want to respond to, and these will be your last points as well. So the point about consumption patterns, how can we influence consumption patterns? Chris, the point about the Ascension example, the potential to scale. What's it going to take to stop the use of plastic in 10 years? The fourth one, I'm sorry, sorry, thank you. And then fifth, value chain. So Derry, can I ask you to go first?
Yeah. No, great questions. Let me try and hit a couple of points at the same time. So how does private industry think about this? How does Mars Incorporated think about its broad set of commitments, programs that we build, metrics through the value chain? So I think that's hopefully hitting a couple of the points. As I mentioned before, Mars is a company that has it thinks in generations. So we set long-term goals for the business. So for example, on greenhouse gas emissions, we will reduce that by 50% by 2030, by 100% by 2050. And those programs are not aspirations without concrete plans that sit behind them. Those are difficult to deliver, and we will probably hit some, we might miss others, but the programs are expensive. We're investing about $1 billion over the next few years to drive against that ambition. So the metrics are hard. I think with sourcing through the value chain, so sustainable sourcing is a code of practice that we have developed with our partners, which is about how we expect the fisheries to be sourcing that we will select. And if fisheries don't hit those standards, then we won't use those fisheries. We also have a code of practice, a code of conduct for our suppliers, which is also a list of requirements that will work for us. And if they don't hit those requirements, again, we will select different suppliers. So that extends beyond direct sourcing right down through our value chain. And it's based around hard metrics on not just the sustainability commitments, but also on the social impacts, impact in the communities, ethical practices, etc. So it is a pretty rigorous set of code of conduct practices, supplier sourcing decisions that we make, all informed by that long-term aspiration. And the plastics point, I mean, the food delivery system today, you're right, I mean, it's got a huge amount of plastic within it. And I think companies like ours, we are working very, very hard to reformulate towards recyclable materials. So we have 12,000 different types of materials in our supply chain today. We've moved about 61% of those to recyclable solutions. There's another 39% to go. That's part of the plan. But there is a reality that, again, it's a bit like the sustainable sourcing of the oceans. We need the industry to move to be able to create the recycling infrastructure to be able to deal with that packaging. Because the leakage in some parts of the world today is enormous. So hopefully that hits a few of those points.
Perfect. Thank you. Sarah, maybe on the plastics or consumption or consumer consumption?
I'm going to take the first question.
Great.
which is an extremely difficult question. How do we get consumers to make better choices? I think that's a global problem, but I wrote down 4 things. The first thing is that the cost of fish needs to reflect the true cost of fishing. Externalities are not included in the price that consumers pay. Subsidies, for example, we need to end harmful subsidies to local fishing fleets, so that's the first thing. The second thing is I think and this is a bit elitist, I think, but thinking about educating consumers more about their impact, but that only goes so far. Oftentimes we're educated and we still don't make the right choices. The third thing I think is, what did I write down here? Is to right-size the global import-export markets, which we import, I represent the United States, we import a lot of fish, the EU, Japan, China, major market states bring in fish from around the world. Let's leave more fish in the communities that eat that fish traditionally. I live in Colorado in the United States. Do I deserve to eat tuna? I don't know. And then the last thing is much more difficult, and that's just to change our global ethic and our relationship to the earth and how we eat food. So to think of seafood as a luxury and a privilege for most of us, and as a necessity for some of us.
Please, Ascension example? Yeah. Yeah.
As well, I think we need to scale sustainability.
Is that mic working? No.
And make farmed fish affordable for everybody. I think, we can't have this, seaspiracy, everybody should be vegan, because it's fine for everybody in Nice to be able to find something vegan, but the 3 billion people that rely on wild fish as their main source of protein, and the ones that are struggling the most, we need to enable them, as you said, to be able to eat the fish that they've built their families on for generations to come. And then for a growing population, the world population of 10 billion people, we have to scale aquaculture. You know, as I said before, it is the most sustainable, efficient protein we can create. So we need to big investments in that. We need countries that are concerned about food security to be looking at RAS systems so that they can actually have this healthy protein that is close to their citizens. On extension, there's now no industrial commercial fishing. It's completely stopped. So there was some sports fishing, but the ambition there was how do you actually protect this marine ecosystem to thrive. And now there's more whale sharks and more pelagic species that are staying there. So the locals are allowed to fish for sustenance, but there's no commercial fishing. So it's a really great example of this blue belt that the UK took on to protect. And I just wanted to say one thing about Bermuda is that I think Bermuda, as an amazing country that I'm very fond of, I hope you're wearing Bermuda shorts, by the way, is that they should be looking at, that if there is an island that should really be looking at natural capital, that Bermuda and the sargassum that it's got, and actually how are they looking at valuing their marine ecosystem. It's a finance hub, it's a reinsurance hub. They as an island really could be leaders in what I was saying about blue natural capital, because they've got the finance, they've got the brains, and of course they've got the biodiversity. So taking a leadership on a position on that, which I know that your government is very keen to, I think would be a really smart direction.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't have a specific question to answer, but I want to say two things about how we're gonna get it done. The plastic treaty, you have heard about it. We hope that by August it will be finalized and come into force. That's one of the most contentious or very arguable treaty, but it's in the making for the last 3 years, and it has one of the longest, in fact, treaty I see. That is 157 articles, do and don't do. That would be one of the solutions we're expecting to solve our plastic issue. The other one is how we do it, the finance gap again, I have to say. The finance is not on the table, along with the coastal committee or the least developed one. Yesterday we have launched the One Ocean Finance Facility that is bringing the private sector, public partnership, philanthropy together to put money together, invest in nature. If we align ambition with innovation and investment, we're going to create a world where everyone can enjoy an ocean that supports the economy and the ecosystem. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Very good. Last word to you. Briefly.
0 minutes.
0 minutes. You've got 0 minutes. Yes.
I would choose others that they were in the room. I would talk about or try to answer the question of the sir that asked for the value chain and what type of metrics we are pursuing to try to understand. That's important because in the value chain we have many metrics that we can understand and study. But I definitely will keep with the CO2 emission because there is so much science behind and there is so much information regarding how to calculate the metrics of CO2 emission that could involve, as you say, if I remember very well your question, transport, energy, and others. So I think I will keep with the CO2 emission because it involves a lot of things and are very specific methodologies behind that, and it's quite a lot all to try to keep going and to understand sustainability in a broader idea. Another one was from the soybean, talking about deforestation free. I think here Mars and Biomar and everybody should understand that that's a complex problem. The deforestation transparency is quite difficult. If I will say what we need is we need more transparency, we need more certifications. There are quite a lot of outside, but they're quite different also. So I will, for the future, I will hope that we have not too many certification about soil deforestation, and I will say more data that is around the world, because this is not a problem only in Brazil. And it's not only for the soil. So I will challenge all the people here when we talk about deforestation to have more innovative ideas of CO2 emission calculation, but also how to understand the deforestation free and a broader idea more than the soil.
Perfect. I'm very sorry for the rapid and sort of hurrying you with these responses, but we are way over. But you can have a much more leisurely discussions outside because we now have refreshments out there for you all to stay and talk and continue these questions. And so I would like to thank our sponsor, Mars, for supporting this. I'd like to thank our speakers. And I'll just end by saying, clearly collaboration is extremely important. We need that shared vision. The way I think about it is we need the shared vision, shared tools, and then shared accountability. And I'm sure these conversations will continue throughout the week. Thank you all for your questions and contributions, and hope you have a good rest of your conference. Sorry about that.